this is how you show your menu bar. So this is also discussed last meeting. So just click this down arrow and you can click your menu bar here. Okay. Then the next method on how to change your drawing area. This is your drawing area. The color of the drawing area is to click this one, the tool and options. Okay. The next is you have your display. Okay. So this is a crosshair. This is also discussed also last meeting. Then here you have the color. You can easily change it. So if you notice, the default color is black. So we will make it for this time lang naman. So you can see the grid and the coordinate entry using the white background. Okay. Apply and close. Then also close this one. So to zoom your drawing area, ito. You can use your middle mouse button, ito po. And this is your coordinate. This is along X and Y. If you can see here, along horizontal that you have your X, that means you have the correct orientations of your CAD. So that means you are at the top view. And this is also yung Y. So Y is facing upward, that's a positive, and those are facing horizontally and towards the right, that is the positive X. Okay, so to drag it, you can use this one. This is the pan. You can drag the locations of your drawing, or you can just hold yung middle mouse button of your mouse, so you can drag it. Okay, ganyan. Okay, pwede mo siyang i-drag. Okay. So once you already move your origin, if while you are dragging it, you actually move it to the center, that means you reach the origin. If you move it na hindi pa gumagalaw yung origin, kanina nakailang move tayo, and you can see na yung origin is nandito pa din sa lower left corner ng drawing area nyo, that means hindi nyo pa naaabot yung 0, 0. Okay? So what we're going to do first is I'm going to zoom it so you can see the different grid, and you have the large output of your grid, so you can see the different spacing. So mas malaki yung spacing because naka-zoom in tayo. To zoom in and to zoom out, you can just also scroll your middle mouse. Mas madali lang siya. Ganito lang. Zoom in is scrolling your middle mouse going down, and zooming out is yung zooming out is scrolling down, while zooming in is scrolling up, like this one. And if you notice, if you zoom in enough, you can see a large grid of your drawing area. So mas maganda sa makikita natin. Then what you do next, so you can draw effectively on your coordinate entry, is to turn off this one. You can see this is the object snap. So i-off nyo yan. You can see that it is in off if you notice that yung kulay niya is not blue, hindi siya naka-blue, or wala siyang illumination. So this one also, you can turn off object snap tracking, the polar input. What we're going to left is yung grid mode, yung F7. Okay, so ganito yung magiging output niya if you have now yung status bar is fully turned off, and what is remain on your status bar is only your grid. This is your grid. If you turn it off, wala naman problema, but you will leave yourself empty, guided. Ganito, wala nang guide, so that is pure white if you have a white background, but if you have dark background, so pure black siya. So that's why I allow you to left only yung grid mode. So these are the following coordinate entry methods. Okay. The first one is the absolute coordinate entry method. So what is that? So later I'm going to discuss it to you. The second one is the relative polar or relative coordinate entry method, or also it is called as the relative rectangular entry method. Then the next one, yung last, is the relative polar entry method. These are the three types of coordinate entry method. I have here an example of absolute coordinate entry method. And if you can see, yung sa status bar, all are turned off. Okay, so all are turned off except for the grid setting. Okay, so also here it is stated that off all settings of status bar, and before you can do your drawing, so proceed to your CAD and you can perform this one at your command line. Type Z, that is for zoom, enter, then ALL, that is for zoom all. Okay, that is for zoom all. Okay, then press enter. Okay, so what it do is it will going to preoccupy or zoom your entire drawing that is needed for your drafting for today. Okay, then again you can pan this one so we can reach for your coordinate entry. You can do the zoom all para yung if ever you have a very large drawing area or large range for your drawing area, you can set it to unlimited drawing area para makita natin yung output. Okay, let's say we're going to draw a 4x4 square. Ano ba? Ganito, 4x4 square. So what I do here, this is your command line. What I do is I type first line. That is the basic command entry, or that is the basic geometric entry using a command line. You can type L or you can type line. So much better if you know how to use the shortcut line. L stand for line, so you can just use L for that. Okay, then type enter. Then next is, what is the first point? After pressing enter for L, the AutoCAD will ask line specify first point. So of course, what we're going to do, since we are using the coordinate or the absolute coordinate entry method, we will going to start from 0. Okay, so here you will going to type 0, 0. So 0, 0, that is your coordinate for your first point. Okay, because yung line is composed of endpoints to endpoints. So what will you do to create a line from one point to another point is we declare or we state the coordinate for that. And in this example, our first coordinate for the line is 0, 0. Then I'm going to press enter and you can observe what will happen to our drawing area. Okay, so once I press enter, if you notice the first point, and you can see now the actual representations of the line, but we don't have yet the second endpoint. Okay, if you notice, nandito siya sa 0, 0. Okay, so next, I'm going to proceed here. I do not need to click anywhere on the drawing area because we are trying to have our coordinate entry method, and that is the absolute coordinate entry. Okay, here, I'm going to type, since we are going to draw a 4x4 square, so here, I'm going to type 4, 0. Then I'm going to press enter. So this is my number 4. Okay, so why here? So that means yung grid setting kasi natin is 10. Okay? Then next is if we're going to have here yung next point natin, that is 4, 4. Why 4, 4? Because the coordinate of this having a square which is 4x4 is 4, 4. Then press enter. And next is our next point is here, so that will be 0, 4. Why? Because the coordinate of x at this point is 0, while yung coordinate ng y is 4. Then press enter. Then going down, babalik tayo sa origin, and the coordinate for that is 0, 0. Okay? Then press enter. And if you notice, yung line command nyo is still active. If it is still active, we can do press enter, or you can just press escape. So either of the two will disconnect your line commands, and what is left on your screen is yung square geometric geometric figure. Okay, so I'm going to press enter, and if you notice, so na-disconnect na yung line commands on your command line, and also what is left on your screen is yung square nyo. Okay? If you notice, you have here a guide, which is your grid, but the grid is somehow it is more than the half of your geometric entry. To check your grid, kung ilan ba yung spacing ng grid, all you need to do is to type grid on your command line, then press enter. And if you notice, this is the grid settings. You have here a default value, which is 10. That means, ang spacing pala nito ng grid nyo is 10. So if you want to change it, you can just type any figure on the given command line. So let's say we type 1 to change the actual grid spacing of your AutoCAD. Okay? When I press 1, if you notice, the grid automatically changes from 10 to 1. And from that setting, you can now verify that yung ginawa pa lang natin na object is now 4x4 by just simply counting the number of grid. That means this is 1, 2, 3, 4. That is along X. Then along Y, you have also 1, 2, 3, 4. You can easily manage your coordinate having a spacing of 1 for your grid. Okay? Then I'll go back to your presentation, which is this one. Okay, so this is your absolute coordinate entry method. So if you notice, this is your drawing, which is available on your AutoCAD. Same with this one. But on your Google Docs here, on your Google Docs, you have the coordinate for that. So this is the origin, which is 0, 0. So the knowledge that you need from this given example is only the knowledge you gain from your analytic geometry, or simply the plane geometry. Okay, and the knowledge you need is on how to analyze the coordinate entry. So of course, the first value is your x coordinate, comma, and your second value, this one, is your y coordinate. So this is your origin, this is your first endpoint, and this is your 4, 0. This is your second endpoint. And going up, this is your 4, 4. This is your third endpoint. And the last before we return to 0, 0 is 0, 4. Okay. So for the relative coordinate entry, so all you need to do is this one. Let's say the first point of entry is not known, but the measurement of the figure is given, but the coordinates is not known. Okay? So every time you're going to draw an object, it is not necessarily that you're going to find always the origin. To make it easier for you to draw different object. What if the origin is not available? Or what if you cannot draw on the origin because the origin contains different object? Ang gagawin nyo pala is you're going to delete every time you're going to draw an additional object. So it is not necessarily. Okay? So what we're going to do is to draw a object which is at undefined coordinate. So let's say I simply use line, enter, and I simply click here. Okay. And if you notice, we don't know the exact coordinate for that. Okay. So how can we draw a square if we don't know the exact coordinate for that? We don't have an idea on the next one. To avoid that questions, or to answer that questions, all you need to do is to draw using the relative coordinate entry, the second method. Okay? So since you have now the first point, all you need to do is the second point here, but we don't know the exact coordinate. But we can assume, okay, this is the relative method. We can assume that your first point of entry is now your origin. If it is now your origin, we can say that this is now your 0, 0, relatively. Hindi naman talaga siya actually yung 0, 0. That is because this is your actual 0, 0. But in using coordinate entry, the relative coordinate entry, we can assume relatively that this is your origin. If this is your origin, we can say that this point is also your 4, 0. Diba? But doing that here at your command line, all you need to do is to use at. That is the symbol for relative. Removing that will going to shift you back to absolute. Okay? So for now, you have 4, 0. It will not going to point to the exact 4, 0, but instead, it will going to set the 4, 0, which is relative to this origin. Okay? I'll going to press now enter, and if you notice, automatically, eto na yung 4, 0 niya. Taking into consideration that this is your 0, 0. Okay. But take note, for the next point of entry, which is this one, this is not now 4, 4. Okay? If we're going to take it, if we're going to type it at 4, 4, since sabi natin, we can assume that this is your origin, it will going to shift here. Why? Bakit hindi siya pumunta dito, but instead, it go here? That is because, since we take to the considerations that the origin is relatively moving, from this point, since you are already here, yung origin nyo is not this one anymore. But rather, eto na yung bago nyong origin. Relative point of entry, that means every time you type coordinates, your origin moves. Okay po, tandaan na. Ito ang pagkakaiba niya sa absolute. Yung absolute coordinate entry nyo, yung origin nyo, yung place, yung coordinate nyo, since that is absolute on the word absolute, it will not going to move. But the second methods, yung first point of entry nyo will always move, or yung origin nyo will always move. Your assumption of 0, 0 will always move to your last point of entry. Okay, so may advantage siya, but there are some advantage if you are a beginner. You will going to get confused when joining absolute versus coordinate entry. Okay? Basta take note na lang that in relative coordinate entry, your last point of entry will always be your origin. So that means if this is now your origin and your purpose is to go up here, that means the value of x is 0. So you're going to type at 0. But since you go up, that means you go up, the value of y is positive, and we have a distance of 4. You're going to type comma 4. Then press enter. Okay? Then going here, so this is now, if you notice your movement, you are now going to the left. If you are now going to the left, that means the coordinates of x, since that is horizontally inclined or horizontally aligned, the coordinate of x here is now negative because this is now your new origin. That is now at negative 4. Since you don't go up, comma, you have 0. Enter. Then going down, you cannot type 0, 0 anymore, but rather you can type at 0, negative 4 because you are going down and this is your last point of entry. Then press enter. Then you have now yung square using the relative coordinate entry method. Okay? Always remember, in relative coordinate entry, yung last point of entry nyo will be the origin of your next point. This is your first point of entry, the S. To draw this one, so you will going to type at 4, 0 with respect to your first point of entry. Since you are now here and we are going to draw this line, you're going to type at 0, 4. That is because the last point of entry is now this one. And if you are now here and you're going to draw this line, this horizontal line, since you're going to the left, the coordinate for that is now at negative 4 comma 0. That is because this is now your last point of entry. Then going down, you have this is now your last point of entry. You cannot simply type 0 comma 0 because this is now your origin. So again, you're going to type at 0 comma negative 4 because you are now going down. Okay, so this is now your relative coordinate entry. Some says that this is much harder compared to the absolute coordinate entry, but take note that you're not always going to draw at the origin, and you're not always going to draw exactly at the integer value of your grid. Hindi naman palaging sakto ka dun sa grid nandito. Okay? So if you can see the example, the endpoints lies in between of the integer value of the grid. So hindi siya saktong by ones. Okay? Yan ang reality in AutoCAD. So ano tayo ngayon? Polar entry. Yung sa polar entry, ganito yun. Halimbawa, ito yung figure natin. Gawin ko muna ng figure, ha? Halimbawa, naka-incline siya. Square na muna para mas madali. Etong square natin is may respective angle siya pag polar ang pag-uusapan. Halimbawa, this line is at angle 0. Diba? Naka-angle 0 siya because usually, yung line is naka-align sa horizontal. So that means yung angle natin is 0. So ito po. Yan. Yan ang angle natin. And take note that relative polar entry, the angle rotation is counterclockwise. Yun ang positive niya. So that means, pag ito yung line mo, that means yung angle natin is 0. Pag ito yung line mo, that is 22.5. Pag ito mga important angle, ito is 45. Then ito, pag naka-vertical, going up, that is 90. Pag naka-horizontal, going sideward or left, that is 180. These are the angle. And this is 270. And also, you can use the negative. Kung mas madali, alam para hindi ka na mag-isip ng 270, you can use negative 90. Also, ito, 45. So, instead of thinking, what is this angle at positive part, which is 315, pwede mong gawin na negative 45. Mas madali. As long as you take note that the angular rotation is positive going counterclockwise, while it is negative going clockwise. Okay, so we draw it here. Halimbawa, we have your align, and take note that the polar is also relative. Okay, so I'll go into type L, enter, and this is my first point. So going here, instead of typing at 4, 0, which is the relative value entry, we can now just type at 4 angle. What is angle? What is that symbol? Yung less than symbol. Yung less than symbol is your angle. Yung angle dito, wala naman word na angle or wala naman na symbol na angle sa keyboard natin. Hindi naman pwedeng word na angle. Ang ginagamit ng AutoCAD is yung less than symbol, that is nasa left side ng M, 'di ba? Ma-shift function ka lang kasi nasa taas siya ng comma. Tama ba? Yes, nasa taas siya ng comma. So what you're going to do is to shift then comma. That will be your angle. Then since it is aligned horizontally, yung angle niya is 0. So that is like that. Okay. Then press enter. Okay, so you have now the same with this one, example. Then going up here. So instead of typing at 0, at 0, 4, so that is for the rectangular coordinate entry, you're going to type now at, so wala na itong negative. So maganda dito, yung distance niya is wala nang negative. So that will be at 4 angle. Ano ba yung angle niya kung pataas? The angle for that is 90. Ganun. Then press enter. Okay, going here, that will be at 4 angle 180. Bakit 180? Bakit hindi siya 0? So this, if you notice, we are now going to the left. That's why yung entire angle now is 180. So from this part, this is now your angle. Okay? So that is 180. Then enter. Then going down here, you can just type at for angle 270, or simply, to make it easier, you can use the negative angle, which is negative 90. Then press enter. Okay? So this is now your square using the relative polar entry. Okay? So ito yung methods nyo, baka makalimutan nyo. R theta kasi siya. R theta. Ito, 5. Tingnan nyo ito. Galing dito. So, this is your start. If you're going to go up, you can use these two methods. Okay? Ano ba? Nandito tayo. Pataas. You can use this one, 5 angle 90. Or, you can use this one, 5 angle negative 270. Whichever the easy angle, easier way on how to type or analyze the angle. So that is the methods that you're going to use. Then if you're now here, going up to this point, you can type at 5 angle 180. So this is now your coordinate using polar. So if you are here, going down, if you notice, the angle for this one is at 5 negative 90. So negative 90, that is because we are going down and we refer to this negative angle. Then going back here, so this is horizontally aligned, so that is at 5 angle 0. So this square is not 4 by 4, but instead this is 5 by 5. Okay. Also, if you have this, so you can now easily draw any figures at an angle. So you notice, we start here, so going up, so this is your angle, so this is now 45, so that's why you have at 5 angle 45. If you're now here at this point, going here, so ilan ba yung angle dito? This is the angle for that, and that will be 135. So at 5 angle 135. If you're now here, then going here, you can analyze this angle. Ito, paikot. But that will be this one. From here going here, negative 135. Or kung sa positive, that is 225. So it is much easier to remember the negative 135 compared to negative 225. So that's why we use negative 135. So if you're now at this point, going down, you have negative 45. Okay, so don't worry with the angle because you can easily analyze that one. So just going here, you can just search the angle rotations on the internet. So these are the following angles for that. So we try this one for the last time using our AutoCAD. That is 5. Okay, so let's say you have here. This is your first point. So take note ha, this is your first point of entry. That means dito kayo magkukuha ng reference ng angle. So going to this part, that means yung angle nyo is 45. Okay? Ito po 45 yan. Hanggang dito. Okay? So that will be at 5 angle 45. Enter. So ayun na siya. And also, this is now your new point of entry. So this will be your reference for the next point. So if we're going here, so that will be 135 yung angle. That will be at 5 angle 135. Enter. Okay? Then, going here, so if you notice, you can refer yung positive papunta dito. Ito po galing here, papunta dito. Or you can just refer to the negative. So I'm going to use the positive one. That will be at 5 angle 225. That is the positive. Enter. If the negative, that will be at 5 angle negative 135. Also here, going to the first point of entry nyo, so pwede nyo gamitin yung pababa na lang. Diba? That will be negative 45. That will be at 5 angle negative 45. Then press enter. So this is now your diamonds or rhombus even on the Google Doc. Okay. So that is the three methods on how to use yung coordinate entry. Sorry, the coordinate entry method.